Hello and welcome to the Wired BioHealth podcast. My name is Jacqueline Hall and I am so happy to be joining you on this Monday morning. As you all know, we have now added a new component to Wired BioHealth, and it's WBH counseling and therapy. One of the therapists that we have on staff specializes in grief and bereavement. And the reason that I really wanted to focus on this topic today is it's something that touches everybody at some point in their life. The loss of whether it be a loved one, someone that they're close with, or maybe somebody that they didn't know that well, but it was a really meaningful figure in their life. Maybe it was somebody from childhood that you later lost touch with as you grew up, or maybe it's somebody that you were close with for a very, very long time and then you just fell out over either something big or small, and now they're no longer here. And one of the most difficult parts of kind of that process of grieving is the words left unsaid. And so what are some of the things that we can do to really help process that loss when you feel as if there wasn't enough time, or you didn't have the right words, or you didn't know how to say the things that needed to be said? Sometimes that's kind of the weight that brings us down, and we can stay under it if we let it. So grief, it comes, it goes, it changes over time, depending on this person's place in your life. Maybe it's something that you never, quote, get over, but the grief shifts, it changes. But eventually, those memories of this person that right now might create tears will create laughter. And so that's why moving through grief is so important. And so one of the ways that we're able to move through grief is to recognize it, that there is a loss. And then upon recognizing that, say, okay, where do I think this person is now, right? Do I have this concept that maybe they're in heaven? Or maybe I'm worried about them for whatever spiritual teachings or religious teachings. I believe that maybe they're not in such a good place. How do I reconcile that fear? And I think one of the most important parts is to not be focused on where that person is now or that soul is now, but what could I say to them if they were still here in front of me? What are those words that were left unspoken that I want to be able to share with them? And then if we can kind of sit with that thought, that clarity could potentially come to us, right? If we knew this person well enough in life, maybe let's think into those happy moments. Maybe if the last part of your relationship was kind of on not so good terms, rethink of that person kind of in the better times, in the better things, and say, what would this person say now? Where would we be today? Because it does us no good to reflect on the hurtful parts of that relationship. We don't want that to be kind of the final taste in our mouth, because that does us no good. It doesn't do them any good. But at this point, they're gone, right? And we don't want to tarnish the memories that we have of them to be negative things. We want to let the negative things go and hold on to the positive. Conversely, that also doesn't mean sugarcoating somebody's life, right? If they didn't lead this perfect scratch-free life, because none of us do, let's not make it. Let's not romanticize it to be something that it wasn't. But don't focus on those negative pieces, because it's not helpful. And so then when we're reflecting on what would be some of the things that they would say to us if they were here, just for me personally, I am not one of our grief and bereavement counselors, but when I think of trying to get in touch with somebody who's passed on and there's something I wish I could have said, kind of this burning, yearning thing, what would they say now? I like to think that somebody who is passed on, in my mind, it's to heaven, they kind of have a greater understanding than I do, right? They're no longer kind of held down by the things that we have to deal with on earth. They're not burdened by the daily things of the commute to work, the bills, the sickness, the ailments. If you have maybe a grandparent or a loved one who's passed on, don't think of them as kind of the bent over, frail, fragile, sickly grandparent. Think of them as agile, living life. Maybe their 19-year-old self that was just beaming, full of confidence, loving life. That's who they could be in heaven right now, right? Their best self, their higher self. They're closer to the sunlight of the spirit. So when you're thinking of those unspoken words that you could have said to somebody, Picture that happiest version of them in your mind, and then have that conversation. What are the things that you wish you could have said to them? Maybe you're going to hear what they might have said back. And if you don't, that's okay. Because like I said, grief, it comes in waves. So don't feel like you're going to have this one conversation with them right now and you're going to get all the answers that you need and you're done with it. That's not how grief works. So be open to those feelings as they come, and then seek help, right? If you're having some of those troubles, if this is keeping you up at night for extended periods of time, or maybe it's just this kind of cloud that's negatively impacting other relationships, call us. Like I said, we do have these grief and bereavement counselors on staff. So the number is 1-888-841-7099. I invite you to let us in to be a part of your healing process. Be well.